Thank you, Joe.
Thank you so much. Okay.
All right, we're ready to go. So I will call this meeting of the school board to order versus pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
United States of America.
one nation, under God, indivisible.
Liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone. First item is the consent agenda. Recommended action: approve the items below, which are included in the consent agenda. 5A minutes, 7A 2022-23 calendar amendment, and 7B special education. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Thank you, Colleen.
I have people.
Any withdrawals or or discussion? All right. Vote. Okay, that's all right. We can hang it.
Yeah. Martha made the motion. Who seconded it?
Colleen.
Okay, now you can vote.
Karen, can I do that from here?
You should be able to.
Okay, I'm looking. So here's my problem. I don't know how to do a split screen, so I got to go back and forth.
You can, if you want, you can vote out loud.
Aye.
So there you go. I did it.
Oh, here we go.
Oh,
Thank you, Colleen.
did you say yes, Ron?
I did. Oh, here we go. I see it. I got it.
So it's 5 yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. The next is the bill of the cause, where the public may address the board. I will just say this, that we want to make sure that any public comments that are made here understand that this purpose is for the board to listen to any comments that the public may have. We may not respond immediately, but we do enjoy having the public feedback and the public involved in the process. And to that end, I just wanted to extend that there are other avenues that things may need to go down for certain public comments, and we can absolutely help with that in those instances where that needs to happen. Just to kind of set the stage as to what the public addressing portion of the meeting is here. But without further ado, and we'll talk more about this later too. But is there anyone who would like to speak? All right.
Do I understand I can talk, but you can't talk back?
Correct, for 5 minutes.
This is
Yeah,
great.
Yeah, 5 minutes.
And just so you know, you are on the agenda for the next item if you're here for the reason.
Oh,
that
I'm
you're
sorry.
here.
I thought that was,
No, you're so.
If you want an additional 5 minutes, that's fine. No,
I'll wait my turn.
All right.
You can have unlimited time in the other area.
That's right, yeah,
Of course.
but we can talk back. Yes, Doug.
Being it's election season, I'm just kind of curious as to what our curricula contains for the education of our youth on the election process. I'm not expecting a discussion now, but if somebody can reach out to me at some point to let me know what's done in our schools about that point of important education, I think.
Thanks, Doug.
And you, speaking like civic education kind of?
Yeah, yeah.
Great, all right, thank you. And do we have any letters or emails?
We do not have any emails.
Faxes.
Nothing. I've not received.
All right, well, if there's nothing else, we'll move on to our report phase. First up, Mr. Devil. Sorry, Art.
Now you can talk back, right?
Yeah. Now we can talk.
Let me start with saying that Linda Young was hoping to be here, but she was called out of town, so she couldn't join us, unfortunately. Let me also just start with a quick history. I started at the food pantry about 2.5 years ago, beginning of the pandemic. A lot of the elderly people that volunteered there were very afraid, not knowing what the pandemic was going to bring. And so my wife and I stepped in. It turned out to be more than just temporary. They more or less became part of our family, and we are part of the family now. I found it very rewarding to be at the food pantry, helping out and doing something rather than sitting home worrying about the pandemic. And it really did start out that way, but now it's just started out to, it's a great cause, good people, and the people you help are really great. All that being said, right now the food pantry operates out of the basement of the church. It's great. We're very lucky they do that. Father John's a godsend. But the stairs are very steep. They're very narrow. All the food that comes has to go down. The space is shared, so you're setting up and taking down. The thrift shop currently is over at the Harbor Landing, which used to be, for all of us that are older, the old Harbor Movie Theater. And the Lucy's are looking eventually to do urgency to get them out of there. And also right now, there's nowhere to go if you have used furniture, so that you could take nice, gently used furniture, if that's the correct term, and have someone that needs furniture that's starting out could go and pick it up. The dump right now tries to do that. They'll set it aside, but if it rains, that's the end of it. So our goal right now is to go into the Shipman Youth Center footprint and take the far right-hand corner to the right of the basketball courts and put in a building roughly 30 by 100. I think those are our numbers, and put in a triple building that would be food pantry, thrift shop, and furniture, all in one spot, all in a level spot where you could pull up, plenty of room. And in talking with Tim and looking at the spot, it appears that the whole row there in the long term could really work out, so that our building would be far left, the composting would be next, a greenhouse, you could elaborate on that somewhere down the road, and then the Shipman Youth Center. Linda Young already worked with the school students, and we just think it's a great marriage of getting the school children involved in how the food pantry works, helping people out, helping people getting to know the other people. It seems like a real no-brainer. Of course, part of that is the need for your board to say that it's okay to use that site. And then the other part of that, of course, is us finding funding. That's what I'm here for tonight. Did I keep that under 3 minutes?
It's just such a wonderful idea, Art, and Linda Young just does a tremendous job up at St. Agnes. And for anybody that's been in St. Agnes's church basement, it is a precarious little narrow stairwell that you go down. I can't even believe they get down there with the boxes to get in there, but it's just such a great idea. And then you think about how our children could segue into working there. They could easily accomplish their 40 hours of community service just working in any one of those 3 segments of your building. But great idea, and I hope it turns into fruition.
Yeah, and you never know. They start out there like me. They may end up being there for life too. So
It's just
even better.
It's just a wonderful, wonderful thought and much needed for our community.
And also the food pantry has its open hours, like on Friday from 8 to 12. But then they also have their on-call hours where they'll do special fills for people, and people come in privately or deliver them. And that's another place that students could get involved. So.
No, it's great. And I think there's always this misnomer that in Lake Placid people don't need this, but Linda used to come, I used to be on the St. Agnes Parish Council. She used to come and give her numbers. It was remarkable to me anyway, the increasing numbers of people that were coming to the food pantry. That has exponentially risen in the last 3 or 4 years. So anyway, great idea.
Linda also has a gift for looking at someone and realizing they're not asking for it, but they need help. She'll take them aside and help them out. And boy, it would be nice if all the clothing was there and furniture was there, all in one room. But
One-stop shopping.
any questions?
I think it's awesome. Not a question. Just
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's everyone keep us in your thoughts and prayers that we can make this thing work.
Wonderful.
Now, do we need to?
So this wouldn't be a motion for the board.
Right.
The way it would work is Art would walk out of here, I assume, hearing your comments and feeling like this is the right direction to go, and then hoping for the best that things come to fruition when it comes time to an actual site building, that we would go through the NICID process for the actual structure to get approved, which Dana's familiar with recently. And then when we formulated the lease agreement for the use of the facilities, the board would then vote to approve the agreement, which would be the formal level of acceptance that would be required.
Great, well, I think,
Say, Art, do you need a resolution of support at this level, at this point?
I think I heard it.
Okay,
One thing though that I do need, Ron, and maybe you could answer that or someone, but one of the problems that we have in the village is anything we do and in the town, and I'm assuming the school has to have prevailing wage, which adds about 40% to the cost of everything. It's my understanding that the building we build will come from Pennsylvania. It's a pre-built building and you go out and you buy it. Would that exclude you from the prevailing wage? One of the
I
words.
think it would, and also you probably have in-kind services to install it and construct it. I'm sure the village and town crews could do that. Maybe not, but I think they could.
We're really hoping that route. And the other thing that I've heard is that the building itself is not subject to prevailing wage. It's almost like buying a car, but once it gets here, any work done on site would be. But
That's true. I think that's correct.
that's great. Yeah, I think that we have spoken when you first approached, and we think it's a great idea. I think I can speak on behalf of the board and say that we are in full support of pursuing this. And I think that especially with the community schools program, this will be hand in glove.
It's so good on paper that if it doesn't happen, it'll be really a tragedy. But
It's a fabulous idea. Great project. Yeah.
Wonderful things happening.
okay. Well, thank you very much. Anything else you need of me? This is great. I get to go home and have a drink and dinner. Like
Do you want the gavel?
Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Good night, Art.
All right, so next up is the treasurer. Dana.
I provided you the reports and board doc, a couple things just to highlight with this. Really typically don't spend a lot of time looking at these individual things, but when you kind of drill down and you look at a couple of things I want to look at is like cash receipts for the month of September. You can see that we brought in about $11.5 million in cash receipts. It's the second grouping there. We paid out about $2 million. So in terms of covering bills, is what that third category is. In the end, as you can see, that's ending available cash is $17.6 million total. That's really looking at everything that we brought, what we had previously at the end of the month, 8.1, what we brought in, and that's really through property taxes. Is really where that $11.5 million. At this point, we do not see state aid or anything like that coming in. That usually doesn't come in towards the end of the fiscal year, the calendar year into early winter, late winter, early spring. So, I mean, when you're looking at it at this point, yes, our cash flow is good. People paid their property taxes. We're actually towards the end of it. We have about 2 weeks left where we then kind of close the books on property taxes and anything outstanding we submit to the county, and they go about collecting it on our behalf.
Do you have an idea of what percentage is in?
I do not. Typically, we end up over the last few years, once early November comes and we close it out. Generally speaking, there's only about a couple $100,000 left out of nearly $17 million. I think last year it was $400,000 or $500,000. That's in the end the county goes after. And once that's done in April, the county actually makes us whole. So I think I mentioned that before. The county in the end covers everything else, and then they continue their process of collecting what's remaining. And they take over that ownership.
What's our, looks like we have two big checks.
Yeah.
Those.
Yeah. Proceeds. The 393, the 393, that would be, I looked at it, that would be our health consortium payments, and then the 162 would probably be our payment to, well, I know it is, we get a monthly invoice from BOCES, paying for our BOCES services, their administrative costs, the occupational as well, any programming that we use through BOCES. That's generally in that 130 to 160 range on a monthly basis. And you can see that 392, that's going to be, you know, kind of our monthly payment for our health insurance.
How long does it take those checks usually to clear?
Generally not too long, but looking at this, it's might, you know, we probably cut checks towards the end of September. So by the time it gets out and gets into the mail, that's typically what happens. It's when we actually send the payments out. Closer it is to the end of the month, the greater likelihood that it's going to be outstanding. We really have gotten down to where we try to cut checks about twice a month to ensure that we're paying our bills, you know, our Amazon bill, our credit card bills, you know, those normal monthly statements. Be consistent about that twice a month.
Thank you. Okay, the budget report.
Budget report, I gave you 2 handouts this month. Well, last month I gave you 2, but one that you have typically seen, the budget performance updates, where it kind of gives a you know, a month look, and you can see that for the month of September, total revenue is considered unfavorable of about $12 million, but I just told you that we brought in $11 million. So as I've said before, that's really timing. You know, what we typically do when it comes to our property taxes, we in essence allocate what we're going to get all in our system. So we say, here's our $16.7 million. We're counting it as revenue, and then as it comes in, you know, it brings that down. So we basically consider it a receivable. You know, even technically speaking, we have not received all $16 million. Whereas if I showed you this a month ago, that number was like $34 million. So by November, we will see it's right size it because it catches up, and it happens every year. It's just about timing there.
And there's no really way to like tweak the timing of the reports to like catch up with all that stuff, because it's not this, it's something else.
Right, you know, one year we could mark it as receivable August 30th, and the next year it could be September 1st. So therefore, it throws off the reports just because of when it's marked as receivable.
Gotcha.
It's coming down. I mean, I guess we could look ahead and say, all right, when did we do it last year, and make it consistent? I mean, that's something that easily can be done. But generally speaking, at this time of year, truly, when I look at the revenue side, you know, it's really about what are we bringing in actual cash, the treasury report, you know, over $11 million. That tells me, yes, you know, people are paying their property taxes, and, you know, this is just a snapshot. This is the reality, you know.
Well, eventually too, the bottom line is, the important thing is that eventually we do get a balanced budget at some point.
Right. Yep.
It just depends on whatever you're taking a snapshot of it.
Yes. Yep. And you can see our expenditures from the last month to a year ago. It was about $757,000 more this year than last year. And yeah, and again, that's really timing. You can see the year-to-date revenue, 83% last year versus 80%. Expenditures were a little up from this year to last year. Currently about 19% versus 16.5% in terms of our expenditures. But when you look at it, we're still projecting at this point going to be under budget. And again, we're really just 3 months into the year, so everything kind of flattens out. The second one I prepared, the charts, it really is more of a truly up-to-date. You know, the first one, it looks for at the end of the month. And then the second one I put as of October 14th, just to kind of give you a little more real-time look at our expenditure side. And just to highlight the fact that, you know, during budget times, typically our biggest categories are the ones you see up front: salaries, employee benefits, contractual invoices. These are typically our big items. When we build the budgets, when we look at increases, and when we look at expenses. So when you look at this, and you know, you would think, oh my goodness, it's alarming, because you look at that last category and the total as of October 14th, you'll see that we've spent $993,000 more than last year at this time. It just makes it look, oh my goodness.
In the employee benefits category, it looks like we're off on that number on the bottom difference. So you have 1,229,000 so far, and then 1,719,000. The difference is only 490,000.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you round it up 500, that would be, if you add 500,000 to
I
229,
see what
yeah.
you're saying. No, I was looking at it wrong. Sorry, my fault.
So when you look at this and you say, well, why is there an increase right now? You know, end of September it was 757, just a matter of 2 weeks now, 193,000. Really what it comes down to is, you know, in the simplest way, we're spending more this year, and that's evident with our economy. You know, everything is up. You know, when we sat here and built the budget, we talked about a 6% increase in health insurance. That is factored in. You know, LPA raises average 3.8%. The CSEA was 3.25%. So nothing stayed the same from last year to this year when it comes to expenditures. So, and this is what this is reflecting is we're spending more because things cost more. Part of it too is timing, but as you can see, you know, $392,000 went out last month for our health insurance. You know, we budgeted a little over $4 million for health insurance. That was reflective of 6%. So even though when I see, you know, this and say, oh my goodness, it's nearly $1 million more, you know, I'm not throwing out flags saying, oh my goodness, here you go, because we're 3 months in, things go up. We're in that kind of world. We're still projecting that we're going to be under budget. And I have no reason to say otherwise at this point.
Great.
I don't believe that's going to be the case 6 months from now either. Questions?
I just want to thank Dana for entertaining all my questions this morning, so I didn't waste a lot of the board's time.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Okay, next up is information for the board. We don't have any, so we'll keep on trucking there to the superintendent's report.
So prior to this meeting, I made a very important pit stop at the elementary school with my 4-year-old son to go to the book fair. Tonight is night 1 of the book fair at the elementary school, which our librarian, Kat Haney, does a masterful job. And it was well attended then and will be for the next 2 nights. And if you have those memories of being there with a child, you know that that's a special event and special time. So, and then as I entered the building and looked back into the gym, I was just admiring the new pads that were installed in the gym with the logo. So on your way out this evening, if you get a chance and the lights are still on, all the padding in the gym is brand new, recently installed. And the banners are new and will be hung as a Friday, Dana?
Friday, yep.
Yes, so they will be professionally installed and current with you know, our accolades of our athletes through the ages, which is encouraging. There's a lot to report on, so I apologize because in advance I'll be a bit verbose this evening, but there are a number of things that are happening that are worthy of discussion and acknowledgement. The first is the 10,000-foot view of what we're hoping to achieve this year, and that revolves around our strategic plan. So as you will recall, our strategic plan phase 1 was formalizing the adoption of a new mission and vision statement. And our vision statement is intended to be aspirational and to seek a position in the district where our school and community are united, engaged, and empowered. And that is what we're manifesting. That is the ethos of what we're trying to do. And from there, you'll recall that recently the board approved formally 4 focus areas for the school year. And we are now in the early stages of formulating some task forces to do some blood work towards making progress in these focus areas for the year. So these 4 focus areas will frame the work of the task forces. Each task force will be made up of 8 to 10 shareholders. And these task forces will convene for the first time on November 15th. That will be from 6 to 8 p.m. in the middle high school auditorium. Coincidentally, that will coincide with our 2nd November board meeting. So our meetings have been starting at 6:30 That will give me an opportunity to be there with Betsy Smith, our facilitator, to kick off the event for our shareholders' participation. And if any of the board members would like to attend the kickoff as well on the 15th, prior to the start of our meeting, that would be a welcomed opportunity. The task forces that we're forming are based around 4 different groups. The first is community engagement. And a big focus of that, of course, is going to be on our community schools efforts moving forward. The second is student voice and experience, embedding more student voice in the inner workings of our school and ensuring that the experience is viewed favorably and that they enjoy themselves throughout the process. The next task force is going to be focused on academic success. And then the last one is about shared leadership. So building that collaborative sentiment amongst our staff, administration, to share leadership in the direction and growth of the district. So to that end, I will be sending an interest letter out to staff members and community members who may be interested in participating in one of these 4 task forces. That will be sent out early next week. And each of these task forces are going to first review data that was collected through the anonymous surveys last March. So they will review the survey responses and make recommendations of goals for our actual strategic plan, which will take place next year. So our goal out of this process is to have a 5-year framework where in year 1, starting in September of next year, we have a goal that we seek to improve upon these areas within these 4 frameworks. And we measure them throughout the year, and I will report back to the board on the success or need for additional work on those different goals. So I think that the 10,000-foot view is favorable, and we're moving along. One of the areas that also was identified through the strategic planning process as a growth opportunity was staff wellness. And rather than attach this to an additional task force, which would essentially be made up of exclusively of staff for obvious reasons, we have decided to launch a district wellness committee. And last month, we put feelers out to our staff members who were interested in conducting this work. And we had 12 staff members respond. And this committee will be chaired by a staff member, Elizabeth Stratford, formerly Elizabeth Marchbanks, 4th grade teacher at the elementary school. And this is going to be a standing committee for the district that will focus on monthly offerings for our staff, wellness initiatives, just to have this built into all of the work that we do in perpetuity in the district. So this is a new committee, and it speaks to the shared leadership goal, which is, I think, something to look forward to for the year. If we go to what's happening in our buildings, there's numerous things that are happening or have happened that are certainly worthy of discussion. So at the middle school, we recently partnered with a scheduling consultant. This work actually took place earlier in the week and will continue for several times over the course of the year. And this scheduling consultant is going to be working with a group of our teachers and the administration to evaluate all of the course offerings that we provide and to make sure that we're providing the appropriate offerings for our students, that we're continuing to provide an exceptional experience and choices for students, but that we also are being strategic in what we're offering so that we can embed support into the school day for students for the core classes that we have. Because we have finite resources and limited staff, we can't offer everything for everyone. So we have to be selective of that. And as our enrollment has dropped over the past several decades, we need to make sure that those course offerings reflect that in what we provide for our students. Last year, we provided education at the middle high school in an 80-minute block. This year, it's a 40-minute block. And there were a lot of reasons as to why that took place. I'll speak to some of those and the benefits of the 40 minutes now, but long story short, I don't think we've hit the Goldilocks zone yet of instructional timing. The 80-minute period forced some of our specials classes like the arts, music, to see their students in a more limited capacity because you can only fit so many minutes in a day. It meant that you may only go to band or chorus or the arts particularly for absence, 1 day a week. I was a music student my whole life, and you need that level of continuity for that to take place. Alternatively, now we're in a mode where we have 40-minute classes, and when you're framing a lesson, you take the first 10 to 15 minutes to the anticipatory set to draw upon people's knowledge of a given topic or a previous lesson. Then you provide new content within a 10 to 15-minute range, and then you wrap up the lesson and close it. And you try and do all that and then deal with I forgot my laptop's not working, spit your gum out, I gotta go to the bathroom and everything else. And suddenly that 40-minute, the quality instruction can feel like that 40 minutes isn't enough. So early work in this scheduling process is pointing to the fact that there may be a way for us to get creative, find that Goldilocks zone somewhere between 40 and 80 minutes. I'm not a mathematician, but that leads me to think somewhere around the 60-minute range. But it's early in the process. But the point is that the scheduling work will drive the student experience, and so and the staff experience. So it's important that I fill you in on how this process is going over the course of the school year. The middle school recently completed their first data diagnostic assessment in math and English. So these are one of 3 data points that we use through the year. And at a previous board meeting, I talked a bit about our state tests. And that's basically taking a picture, a snapshot in time on a given day when the test is given. The benefit of the types of testing I'm referring to is that we give them 3 times a year. And then each year the students progress, that data follows them, and they take those tests again. And we can follow trends and see how things are going developmentally for the student. These tests I'm referring to are adaptive. So if I answer a question and miss it, and I miss a similar one and another one, the test will recalibrate and then provide new questions to me at a different level to try and hone in on where my ability is. A state test is, for now, a piece of paper, and you either get it right or you don't. And then we get the results weeks or sometimes months later. So this data set is very important for us. Additionally to this, there's a lot of misnomers that can happen with regards to our state test scores that this can help to suss out. For example, last year's 8th grade math exams, our students on their proficiency levels in the 8th grade math exams did not indicate proficiency. But that doesn't really tell us the true story of what happened. The data set suggests that there's a serious concern with regards to the proficiency levels of our students in 8th grade math. But actually, what it really is a reflection of is that a large portion of the 8th grade class was on an advanced track and took the 9th grade Regents instead of taking the 8th grade exam. So it's hard to establish proficiency for a test that somebody doesn't take. So to that end, having multiple sources of data to triangulate the teacher's conception of a student's learning, the adaptive test that adapts to the student in real time as they take it 3 times a year, and then the state test provides us with some degree of where we can get additional professional development for our staff to further support our students. So that's been happening at the middle school, and excited to see that continue. The 5-week progress reports have been mailed home to families, so we're well past the 5-week mark. And in addition to the academics, there's been a litany of field trips, opportunities that our students will likely never forget. Our grade 6 students did participate in the Poca-McCready trip, which was originally canceled because of the weather. But they, in a change of plans last minute, went to Mount Van Hoevenberg. And all of the students got to ride the Sky Coaster. They got to take wheeled bobsled rides. They got lessons on the new climbing walls. They took a hike. And they also stopped at the ski jumps, some of the students who had never been there before, 6th graders. And we have several of our students who participate in NICEF. One of them, Max Fay, is actually in the ski jumping program. And so his friends were sort of encouraging him when they showed up there to show them his stuff. And so he just did. Put on, his coach was there. He put on his outfit and skis, and his classmates got to see him with no training in the moment or planning, go down the ski jumps. And we have video of it. I mean, I would not be doing this. I'm most impressed. And we also have a video of the kids cheering him for a good 5 minutes on the bus ride to Mount Van Ho. Once is a pretty special opportunity. So the grade 6 students were slated to go to Poco McCready, had to do that instead due to the weather. The grade 7 students went to Poco on Friday of last week and had an awesome time. And the grade 8 students are probably just trying to catch their breath after their time in DC, which was by all accounts highly memorable for those students. So those are some wonderful trips that we've had happening over the course of the last week or two. At the high school, there's quite a bit of buzz and hubbub about the new senior lounge, which will be opening on Monday of next week. Students are excited. There is an air hockey table, which I prepare to embarrass myself upon in the course of my duties here. There are couches and chairs. There's a smart TV. They have created the norms for the space, and they have helped to design the space. So in our quest to amplify our goal of a united, engaged, and empowered school, we have created opportunities here for student voice and for student wellness with this formation. So I'm excited about that.
Where is that located, Tim?
It's right off the cafeteria.
Okay.
Yep. So like on the cafeteria side where the epic view of the mountains is, it's just to the side of the cafe.
Okay,
It used to be an old staff.
Great.
Student Council has organized a week-long Halloween celebration for our students to wear various themed costumes. I believe day one is hipster versus hippie. Very excited to see how people self-categorize. And 5 full days of costumes leading up to Monday, the Halloween parade. And the Halloween parade will be back in all glory and grandeur on Main Street. I didn't have an opportunity to thank Mayor Devlin publicly for his support with regards to that, but our community school coordinator, Keith Clark, has done a masterful job in working with the village and state police department, the mayor, St. Agnes, our elementary school, and our middle high school, and the Main Street Business Association, all to pull together, I think, a highly memorable parade. So that will take place around noon on Halloween day. Students will march down Main Street, and this year they're actually going to take a victory lap around the oval. All the middle high school students will be there to cheer on the younger students and clap for them. And then they will all progress out that way. And families are invited to attend. I'm excited. My first and only experience here was at the horse show grounds, so I think I'm due to get a sense of what the Main Street experience is like. Our National Honor Induction Ceremony is scheduled for November 16th. So congratulations to students who are going to be inducted. And I want to congratulate Mr. LaValle and the robotics program. They recently received a $2,500 donation from the Rural Technology Fund. Those of you who are at open house, you got to see some of the gadgets that the students in our robotics club put together, and we're allowing families to drive them. It's very fun. We've started the food backpack program. So last Friday marked the kickoff. We had 28 families receiving food for the weekend, and we've taken these efforts in-house even further by purchasing the food and buying things specifically that we know kids can prepare and will eat. And just knowing what Mayor Devlin spoke to, you can already get a sense of the possibilities in the partnership with our backpack program and with the food pantry, were it to be on in closer proximity to the school. I'd like to acknowledge the hard work of our staff and students to create a welcoming and supportive environment at our middle high school. They really do an exceptional job with this. And as an anecdote, today we completed a data comparison comparing the first 6 weeks of school from last year to this year. And one of the data sets we looked at was student discipline. When we looked at this, what we saw is that the total number of discipline referrals this year versus last year decreased nearly 20% in that time. Even more impressively, the number of total suspensions this year is 4 compared to 15 at the same time last year. So this is certainly a testament to a number of things. I think reducing the number of study halls that students had when there was an 80-minute block of time, that level of idle time at 80 minutes and having study hall is a recipe for mischief. Yes. So certainly finding the Goldilocks zone and not going too far above is important. We've created a lot of hands-on learning opportunities for our students. We've launched the STREAM program. And students who may not have been as invested in the traditional school setting are now having opportunities to build things, use their hands, get out and about, and get their curriculum in a project-based manner. So I think that's a real success. I know that Mr. Burdick is doing a wonderful job spearheading discipline at the middle high school along with Miss Lindsay. But Mr. Burdick's doing a great job in his role as Dean of Students. And our staff are making tremendous inroads to address the various backgrounds that our students bring into the school. So as of now, we have 9 staff members who are fully trained in therapeutic crisis intervention. This is TCIS, it's a nationally accredited program. And we are currently training 8 more staff members to have the certification by the end of November. In addition to that, we held a workshop over the summer where 22 staff between Lake Placid and we invited St. Agnes attended. All of these refresher trainings were designed to work in de-escalation techniques that can support students in the general education setting, the special education setting, in transportation, and essentially throughout the school environment. But the goals of TCIS training are to reduce or eliminate the need for interventions and to provide school staff with the skills and knowledge to become catalysts through which the students can change their habits and learn to control their emotions and behaviors in ways that empower them, focusing on our goals of united, engaged, and empowered students.
One, say, what was TCIS again?
Therapeutic crisis intervention for schools.
See why they say
TCIS, absolutely. And we have a lot of leadership. Our principals are turnkey trainers in this, and this isn't the sort of thing you do an hour-long video on and then you're good to go. It's weeks of training. It's five full days of training, and the more intensive TCIS training actually involves physical restraints of students who are in crisis to ensure that they do not harm themselves or others in those moments, which is a last case resort, but a resort that school staff have to be prepared for. So Sarah Allen, Teresa Lindsay, Sonia Franklin, Amy Gotham, Jennifer Tuggy, we have true leaders in this area. And even today, they were training more of our staff in this. And I think the proof is in the pudding. We're seeing it in what our students are doing in the student experience and the reduction in discipline referrals for the year. I also think that we have great kids. And all I need to do is walk down the hall and get that sentiment in either of the buildings. But one of the things that we've done for the past several years that is really meritorious is the Positivity Project. And the Positivity Project, each week, we focus on a different character strength. This week's is forgiveness. Last week's was perspective. And the following week's is integrity. And the staff actually even take like a questionnaire, and then it identifies what their character strengths are. And even in my door in my office, it has my character strength along with my picture listed there. The staff have really embraced this, and it's a way to provide a common language in the classroom for students about what it means to be a Blue Bomber and what it means to live in this community. And we have a lot to be proud of. And this framework is a really nice way to communicate our values in a way that empowers the students and the staff. At the elementary school, I mentioned the book fair, which is going on until the 20th. But we also have the 4-H coming into the classrooms for the 2nd grade on October 26th. We have a trunk or treat for the students at the Olympic Training Center. We also have the students going to Uline for there's a parade at Elderwood, I believe, in the morning. So they're going to have a pretty jam-packed day between trunk or treat, Elderwood, and Main Street. They're going to be some tired and wired kids.
Should be fun on Tuesday.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
It'll be an early night on Monday.
That's right. So there's a lot of great things happening there. I know that I had shared with the board, via email, that we had some visitors the other day from the assembly. Billy Jones and Matt Simpson came and met with our students and toured the facilities. But I wanted to really commend our 5th grade, in particular, Mr. Fermante's class, for the level of knowledge they displayed in social studies, in particular with these 2 assemblymen. And there were moments there where it was teetering on the "are you smarter than a 5th grader" sort of scenario. They were grilling our assembly people, and it was wonderful. So they did a masterful job. And at the end, when I was walking out, we're going to the middle high school with our 2 assemblymen. They looked at me and said, that teacher, if that's representative of the energy that your teachers have, then I want to be in school here in that class. So I thought that was a nice testament to Mr. Fermante and to his kids. On a final note, I would like to take a moment to thank our board members. It is National School Board Appreciation. And we do have some goodie bags for you.
This is why we do it.
Here's your baby.
Here it is.
So we're grateful for the leadership and the compassion of our board members. That's it, when it's this close to Halloween, you gotta lean in.
Thank you for all that you do. All right, you win.
Thank you.
So as board members, you attend more than 20 meetings a year as volunteers. And your sacrifice and leadership and courage is most impressive. So as a community member myself, not just a superintendent, I'd like to say thank you. And just that you are most appreciated and valued for all that you do. And that is Superintendent's report.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. I thought we got paid.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
School board member of the month. I want to know the criteria. I'm nervous.
Roger never gave it to us, so it's all to you, Tim.
All right, I'll make it a no.
And thank you to Karen, because there should be an award for you, Karen, for everything you do behind the scenes.
That comes in April.
I know, but thank you. Thank you for everything you do.
What's the name? Administrative Assistant Day.
Oh, okay. I didn't know there was such a thing.
That's right. Start planning now.
Start planning now.
I have my own day.
MBT actually will set up a plan.
Shop now.
That's right.
All right, thank you very much, Tim. Okay, so moving on to our next item there. I just lost my screen. Here we go. This discussion portion, the board's self-assessment. You'll see the link there in executive content. Thank you very much, everybody, for getting this done. Sarah, for the summary. Is there a summary? Where do I go to?
What?
Is there a summary of the?
Yeah, there is. I was trying to, did you click on the link in Board Docs?
I did. It just took me to the
Like who's
super
completed it?
eval. Yeah, who had completed the dashboard
Oh, yeah, there is a summary.
Is it available or do you have to push through to the next
No,
page?
it should be available.
I'm still in two-step verification.
It's so annoying.
You don't have the phone that you get the text.
I got it, I got
there. Oh, it's the summary page not yet created.
Do you finally?
Oh, maybe you have, maybe that's something you as president has to do. I can see it because but it must be that they can't see it because you haven't done. the rest.
All right, we'll push this to the next time.
No, it's okay.
But thank you for everyone. Boy, they just thanked us.
There you go.
Just drop
Oh,
the ball.
You spent too much time in the school law book this week.
I know, I was deep in it. All right. Well, moving on. So the next is 5A, the minutes, which was in consent agenda. Next up is personnel matters. The first thing is there, the consent agenda, the recommended action. Approve the items below which are included in the personnel consent agenda. Item 6B, teaching assistant appointment change. C6C, sorry, long-term teaching assistant appointment. 6D, winter coaches assignments. 6E, mentor appointment. 6F, appointment of head custodian LPES. 6G, appointment of head custodian LPNHS. And 6H, substitute pay increase. And 6I, appointment of a bus driver. Do I have a motion?
Yes.
Thank you, Joan.
Second.
Thank you, Martha. Discussion.
Can I ask to have 6H pulled out?
Sure.
Or is it I?
No,
Says
it's
6H.
the substitute pay increase.
Yeah.
Right.
So we go ahead and vote even though that gets pulled out?
So I'm gonna, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to, hold on. Okay, if you refresh, I did, it's the same motion and it's you asking for the removal of 6H. If you would just do a motion and a second, and then we'll vote on that one. Please. So who will make it first? Martha. And a second?
I think we can count, Joan.
Okay. Okay, so now you're voting on, and then I'm gonna pop out and remove 6H.
Great, thank you.
So you should be able to vote.
6H is still there.
Yeah, but it's gonna be, it's underneath, it's asking, you'll see where it says 6H, but then underneath it, it says Colleen Locke asked for removal of 6H.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense, Ron and Colleen? You're on mute.
Yes.
Are you voting yes?
Yes,
So 6, yes.
Okay,
And then you will go to
6H.
6H.
All right, so the recommended action upon recommendation of superintendent, approve the increases for the 2022-2023 school year in teacher and teaching assistant substitute pay as indicated below. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion it.
second,
Thank you. And discussion.
So I asked to have this removed from it because I was looking at the current pay scale that we have for the short-term daily rates. And I looked at what we did last year. If most of you remember, we did a temporary COVID premium to make up for last year. I would like to recommend that we just do the COVID premium rather than do this really large and substantial increase for our subs in our particular district. Because if you do a comparison, and this isn't the only reason, if you do a comparison to what Saranac Lake is doing, Keene's doing, the local parochial schools, in fairness, this is going to wipe them out with trying to get any subs for their school. And we are, in some cases, increasing by 70% of what we're currently offering. And in some cases, it's almost double what some of the other local districts are doing. And it's not just that, it's just when you break this down on an hourly rate for this new proposed one, an uncertified teacher is going to be making almost $30 an hour. What do you think that's going to do to other local businesses in the community? Do you think that someone's going to stay at Kinney's and work for 15 bucks an hour or work in the local motels and they can come here and work for 3 days a week? I think we really have to seriously look at these figures that we're putting out here, because I strongly believe we have to work with other districts in our geographic area. And I don't think that this looks very well for our district to have these types of figures out there. And I just don't think it's a great idea. I think even if we went with the COVID rate, it's still going to be higher than the other local districts, and it's a decent rate for somebody to come in here, and it's much more reasonable.
Can I
And
ask a question? Are we having difficulty filling those spots and getting people to come in?
Oh, yeah.
we might-
Okay, then, in view of that, I don't know that I agree with Colleen's assessment. If we're having difficulty, and this will make it easier for us to get qualified people to come in, then I support it. I mean,
We've always had difficulty getting subs coming in, but I think last year we did all right with that COVID premium. It's still paying a certified sub to come in for $155 a day. I mean, these are still really decent figures that are coming in, and I don't know. I think ethically, I think that we have to look about keeping it above maybe what the other districts are doing to entice more people to come to us, but offering in some instances 70% more than a school 10 miles down the road. I just don't think it's good karma, and I don't know. And again, I think we have to look how this could impact other business industries in our community if people start leaving some of those other jobs to come here. So I don't know. I think there's a domino effect, and I really think we need to think about this.
well,
What were the rates for the other school districts?
Saranac Lake is 130 a day for a non-certified, 135 for certified. Keene is 105 and 125. St. Bernard's just put out an SOS for $120 a day, trying to find people. I don't know how we can offer $250 a day when those are the other rates that are currently in the area.
well, maybe the other rates should go up, Colleen. I don't know. If we're having difficulty, that's my primary concern. So how did we come up with this, by the way? This proposal, I'm sure.
I'm happy to speak to that. So, can I first address the need?
Yes,
a little?
please. That's important to me.
So in addressing the needs, so last year we did do a COVID adjustment, but we did not see a significant move in the needle of the number of subs. So when we're talking about the need to have teachers present for our students, there's only two ways you can do it. One is to find a way to entice the staff to take less time off. And then the other is to find a way to entice more subs to come into the district, knowing that there's only so much you can do with people's entitled benefits. And this is really the fourth iteration of attempts to try and address the sub crisis writ large. We, if you recall, canvassed half of last year for 2 full-time benefited positions for subs that were reported every day. They'd be on the LPEA pay scale. It'd be starting off at $45,000. We couldn't get those folks because anyone who would have that job already was already grabbed up by a school district. So the way that we were able to make it through last year is that we had not yet restructured the way that we have over the summer by absorbing positions. So over the course of the end of last year, we effectively cut $750,000 from our budget through absorption of personnel. And that yields a tremendous benefit for the taxpayers, but it also takes away our ability to absorb with those people who are no longer having those positions filled, to absorb the people who are not coming into the building. So the need is, we know that there's pandemic learning loss. We know that areas such as math students are struggling with especially. We know that there's increases in student anxiety as a result of the pandemic. We know that our literacy rates can improve. And so for all these reasons, none of the intervention work that can move the needle on our kids can happen if we're scrambling just to cover classes.
Mhm.
And we've tried, I just don't know what else to try, but this wasn't conjured out of thin air. To some degree, when we were looking at having some coverage for our school psychologist, Colleen, and you got a text.
Yep, I did.
That to me was the clarion call that something wasn't right. And as we looked into that, even in this agreement, our LPEA retirees, people who spent some of them decades in the district, they cap their career out at a certain rate, a daily rate that might be 3 or 4 times what they would make with the set rate for an LPEA member at 145. Was it, Dana?
Yeah.
As an LPEA retiree. And so to then that's like going back the daily rate to when you first started your career after being a retiree. And like, those are the people we want to attract into our buildings. We want certified people in front of our students. If there's absences, that's what's going to move the needle here. And everything else we've tried is not working. But our ability to make true impact in growth, in intervention, and supporting kids, and for our principals to lead in our buildings, they're spending half their day cobbling together, and it's having a draining effect on all of our staff. We're asking our staff to pick up the load and sacrifice preparatory periods so that they're either going to have to make that up on their own time, or they're going to have to not make that up and then have less prep time built into the lessons, which is also going to affect the instruction. So we have an affordability crisis in Lake Placid. And the other thing I'll say is that we have put out notices for various positions seeking permanent applicants. And the rarity of a qualified permanent applicant is scarce. One of the only mechanisms we've had to fill teaching positions this year has been to rely upon our highly qualified teacher assistant pool. We're extremely lucky that we have them, but that resource is limited, and we need to get new qualified people in the door, because not only will they possibly be our subs, but those people may be who we rely upon when we need permanent positions, and we have access to them because we've enticed them in our doors. So the days of 50 teacher applicants from SUNY Potsdam and Plattsburgh are gone. And this is a mechanism to reduce the strain in our buildings. It is, Colleen, comparatively, it is extreme. I completely agree, but we are not in isolation here. We may be on the south end of the FEH region, but in the north end, they've already made moves similar to this.
I think I feel more comfortable with the other districts that are within our 10-mile, 15-mile radius was on similar scale. I don't feel in good faith about this, doing this almost. I just feel like that's just my own personal opinion, that we're just smearing them. And I know that we need people here, but I wish that there was more of a happy medium.
Can I speak? I totally understand what you're saying, Colleen. I see what you're saying. I'm taking from perspective of being a former educator, and I hear a lot of my colleagues still to this day, they are burnt out, they are tired. That's one thing. And then the other thing is setting the tone. I know what you're saying, but for education is not appreciated across. If you listen to anything online or read or anything, educators are not acknowledged for what they do and the education they come from. So I think we almost have to set the tone for that, if you understand what I'm saying. I understand what you're saying, but I don't want to put anybody out, but I think we need to start moving forward in the education world. And if this is one way, so be it.
But I just think this is great that we're focusing on, substitutes, but if we're of this mindset, then we need to be of a similar mindset then with our teaching faculty that, are at a 3% pay increase a year or 3.5% when we're at inflation at 8.1. I mean, we've been told that this 40-year high is transitory, which obviously at this point it's not. And I just feel if we're going to adopt this philosophy of really padding substitutes, then I think we need to look in the future then at what we're paying our teachers.
I totally agree with that. And
I agree with that. I agree with that too.
Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying with that one, and that will be forthcoming in future agreements. But I guess we have to start somewhere.
Yeah, and I think too, one of the things that strikes me when, in talking with Tim about this situation has come up in our conversations a lot. And I think that one of the problems that we're encountering with this lack of subs is, it is burning out our teachers. They're having to pull double duties, but it's also undermining all of the extra RTI assistants and all the other teaching assistants that we're trying to get our students back on track. And this lack of subs is undermining that process because now we're putting extra stress on a system that we're trying to get back to, back on track. So I can appreciate the sentiment that, other school districts may have to look at theirs, but if they're in the same boat, they're most likely already looking, or they should be looking at increasing the sub, because that is our only one card to play. And I was a substitute teacher for a while for multiple school districts at a time, and you answer the phone and whoever gives you a job that day, that's where you go. A bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. I wouldn't hold out for the more expensive school district just because they might call me. But I think that this is just, it is the situation that we're in. So I think I'm I would like to say that I'm not in favor of it because I wish that, we didn't have inflation and sub shortage and all that kind of stuff. But given the situation that we're in, I think that this is probably an appropriate action.
And subbing is a totally thankless job for anybody. We hope we get good quality people. That is concerning because you don't always get good quality. But
I know, because I was a sub. I was probably
I want to say that I am, and I'm being transparent, I am going to vote no on this because I feel that I would have felt more comfortable if in fact, in time, a month or two, some of the other local districts did bump it up. I feel much more comfortable. I don't at this point, so.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Can we relook at the amounts?
Sure. Are you wanting to make a proposal to change the amounts, or?
Or at least look at it and maybe 250 is too high.
I think we would vote on it as it is now, and then if it's voted down, then we would.
Yeah, I move to adopt the proposal that's been put forth.
Correct, we do have to vote on what,
That's right.
yeah, because we're in it. So everyone, if there's no other discussion on the current recommended action, let's go ahead and vote. And we'll see where that lands us.
Karen, we'll be able to do that from here. I vote in favor of it.
Oh, you both in favor. Perfect. So I have, you can see the voting. 4 yes and 2 no.
Okay.
And I do hope that the other districts, if this is the way that we're going, that the other districts step up.
Mhm.
I suspect they will, Colleen. Yep.
The subs are extremely important. Our kids are important. I don't want the cook in the cafeteria having to run into 4th grade to teach science. That's not what it's about. I just felt like we are in such a small area that we kind of have to watch out for each other. One hand washes the other. So I am hopeful that the other districts will see this and put more people on an even playing field. That's just the way I feel.
Right, but I think as you said, with local businesses are also increasing their rates of pay to attract. I mean, that's what
It's
any
become-
hotel out there that wants quality maintenance people or housekeeping people is increasing their rates.
It's a dog eat dog world. There, businesses are yanking from other, it's become, it's been a tough thing. So anyway, this is what it is.
I think that the level of investment and development and planning going in to addressing student learning loss. You just can't lose that by scrambling all the time. It's just too important. And I share the regional sentiment you have. I have great respect for the regional districts and my colleagues. This is where my heart is at right now, is, just.
Yeah, our priority is our kids.
We may be off the Christmas card list. We're not getting that this year.
It might force their hand to do exactly what.
Well, it
you guys
is,
just
but
said.
until they do, I just.
Or maybe we gave them a good excuse and now they can be like, well, look, our hands are tied. Look what, like, last- now we have to do this.
Anyway,
So maybe we made it easier for them. So they will get 2 Christmas.
I don't know.
All right. Moving on, 7A and 7B, calendar amendment and special education were on the consent agenda. That brings us to our second public comment section. Are there any?
Yes, and I did attach it. So would you like to read it?
I know you can read it.
Okay, I'll read it. It's from Vicki Kirschner.
Okay.
It says, "Good evening. Unfortunately, I am unable to attend the meeting tonight, so I decided to email the board to share some exciting news at the elementary school. Kathy Briggs and I recently applied for an educational opportunity grant in an effort to increase our students' exposure to the arts and music. We have reached out to artists and musicians in the North Country, as well as at least one from out of state, who have agreed to join us for 45 to 60-minute presentations, provided the grant is approved. The following are just some of our presenters. Animal Crackers, a band that specializes in folk songs and children's music. Dion Ba, African drumming and dancing. Eric Rivera, slide steel guitar player for the Gibson Brothers. David Summerstein, DJ of the Beat Authority on NCPR, who will do a Latin dance party. Mary Bird, guitar player and singer. Cam Willis, videographer and graduate of LPHS. These plans have been discussed with Keith Clark, and we are looking into sharing presentations with the middle and high schools if age appropriate. Kathy and I are very passionate about this possibility, and we appreciate the board's support in this endeavor. Sincerely, Vicki Kirschner."
Wow, that's great.
Well, you guys, seems like school's a lot better.
Yeah,
than I
no, that's
remember.
what's going on. No, what a wonderful repertoire
I
of performers. That's exciting.
Sounds great.
Next, and anybody present like to make comment? Doug?
Yes, I would like to officially announce that I want to join you guys. So
You saw the gift bags.
Yeah.
They can't stop though if you're on the board, Doug. So it's gonna be
Yeah.
enticing to people now. So.
because I believe in that actions speak louder than words. If it's appropriate, I would like to pass around my petition.
I did that.
You have to finish reading your school law.
Yeah, I haven't gotten through, I've only gotten through.
That's more sticky notes.
A little bit. Excellent. Anyone else?
I would just like to make a comment. I would love to see that music idea that they have going at the elementary school get to middle high school.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, I hope it does.
That's what Keith, Foldy Keith in is hoping to try and bridge that gap.
Wonderful.
Excellent. Dan, nothing? No. Okay, moving on to the adjournment phase of our meeting. You'll see there the dates. Oh, I'm sorry. I did. Sorry. Linking goals with agenda items.
I made one, so I'll pass it to Karen.
There we go. Excellent.
I love it.
Go ahead.
Students first and foremost, first of all of the things that Tim has mentioned in his superintendent report, what's going on with all the students. And then the letter that we just got,
Yeah.
all of the amazing, just music and a variety of things coming down the pipeline. So Keith Clark, spearheading a lot of it, so it's wonderful.
Okay. Has any others? Please move them to Karen. Now,
Oh, sorry, the community and Mr. Devlin speaking and tying into the community.
let me just land the plane. Anyone else? Okay, moving on to the adjournment phase of the meeting. You'll see the next meeting dates and locations. Those will all be here.
Says the 1st and the 5th. I'm assuming that's.
Oh, that's not right. The 15th.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can I ask that maybe by our December meeting, we can go back to 6 o'clock?
Oh, but for sure.
I know, Tim, you said you wanted on the 15th, you just wanted to be able.
That would be
Yes.
Yeah.
And actually, we might be able to do it by November 15th.
Well, I think Tim wants to go to something over at.
Oh,
the-
that's right. Okay. Any old agenda topics? Okay. For new agenda topics, one thing I would like to put on there is for discussion on, so we've been, with increased involvement in the public comment sections, I think we need to revisit our policy and create a framework on how to get the information that people are commenting on to the public. There is actually, it mentions it in the policy, but I think that it's been so long since we've had a lot of public engagement that I don't think that we've ever really done much of it. A lot of it was,
Yeah.
I came on with COVID, so
Right.
we didn't really have much of anything then.
Yeah.
So I would just like to kind of talk about that and to create an open and transparent framework that people can follow so they understand how things go and how to move through things that way. Everything's out in the open and we're transparent with the information, because I think that when people have questions, if we can, in a timely manner, present back to them the information that they were looking for or the topics when appropriate, that we can do that. So, but just to come up with some sort of process that happens automatically rather than us having to remember things 2 weeks at a time. Right. So that's just one long title I just gave you for that agenda item. Feel free to truncate it. Anyone else? New agenda items? Okay. Moving into the adjournment phase of the meeting. A recommended action is to adjourn the meeting. So do I have a motion?
Yes.
Thank you, Colleen. Second.
Yes.
Oh, Colleen, I like the symmetry.
I like the thumbs up. That's good.
Or the sign language, yes.
All in favor?
I
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
everyone have a good evening.
Good evening. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.